conversations. I'm having conversations. I'm having conversations.
All right, welcome everybody. We have with us the Handleys, Ephraim and Ashley. How are you guys doing?
Good. Doing really good.
Awesome. Right on. Well, thanks for joining us. We're looking forward to getting to know you guys. You're a prominent part of our church, and visible too. So I think it's always fun. Sometimes people kind of know you as far as like the stage presence. It's kind of cool to get behind the scenes and get to know people. So I'm really looking forward to our time together. Tell us quickly for people though that don't know a little bit about how long you've been married for, your kids, age, GPA, all that kind of stuff, brag about your kids, how amazing they are and everyone else stinks, all that kind of stuff. So tell us a little bit about your family though.
Tom?
Sure. We've been married almost 14 years, and we have some kids, and we do family stuff.
How many?
We have 3 kids. We have an almost 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, Declan, and then an almost 4-year-old. That's all.
Okay.
Better than everybody else's kids.
That, of course.
All the things.
It is a fun stage. I mean, Christina enjoyed, I think, the little babies. I enjoyed the 5 to 10. I actually enjoyed it as they got older. Younger was hard for me. Do you guys notice anything yet? Or I thought 5 to 10 was the sweet spot. Have you formed any opinions, or have you just enjoyed it all?
Our favorite's definitely like 3 to 5. Like
Okay.
as soon as they turn 5, we're over them. But no, 3 to 5 has been our best because that's when they've been the sweetest and most. I don't know. They want to cuddle and play all the time.
Yeah.
Things are just.
Same for you, Ashley. Would you like that 3 to 5?
I miss having a baby,
Yeah.
but I don't miss the work that comes with baby.
Yeah.
Don't want to be pregnant. I don't want to have a baby, but I do miss having a baby. So I'm going to say I like the baby stage a lot. But I think every stage comes with like a sweetness and maybe a sourness too.
You're absolutely right. Each stage has its blessing and its difficulty. It
Yeah.
is. Hopefully we can enjoy each stage, no doubt. It's always interesting as far as getting to know people, and all of us have such different backgrounds at our church. We really have a wide variety of people. When it comes to just how your concept of God, maybe for some, when they began to follow God, was at an earlier age or something happened later. But what was it like growing up for you guys as far as just religious home, following God home, mixture of bad and Jesus? I mean, how did you guys kind of grow up, and your concept of God, how was that shaped by your family?
Go ahead.
Me first.
Yeah.
I grew up in the church pretty much since I was a baby, as long as I can remember. Yeah, I'm like, what can I tell you about it?
You were at all the services. Your family was just.
I never missed church. Went on Wednesdays, went on Sunday, VBS, youth group, summer, youth camps in the summer.
Moved to South Africa to be a missionary there.
My dad is a minister, so sorry. My dad is a minister.
Hey, you snuck that in there like you didn't want to tell us that you're a PK.
Well, my cry, like I'm scared to cough. Yeah, my dad has been a minister since I was probably like 3 or 4. I can't remember exactly, but it was before kindergarten he started pastoring. And as I got older, he felt like the Lord was calling him to do missions. So when I was about 9 or 10, we moved to South Africa. My mom, my dad, me, and my sister. Pretty much, by ourselves, but we didn't know many people and we didn't really know what to expect, and just kind of came into a whole new culture and for like a third world country. And so we lived there for a few years. It was a super valuable experience for me, just being able to live in a different country besides America and to see how people live and to be able to minister to people. Super valuable, super grateful for it. At the time, when you're 10, 11, it's not really cool to be moving to Africa with your family and away from all your friends. So it was hard at first, but as an adult, I'm super, super, super grateful that my dad listened to God's voice and said, we're going. So yeah, my dad is still a minister, still pastors today in Arkansas. And yeah, I've been super grateful to be in a family that has always served God and loved God. My grandparents have, well, my papa passed away, but before he did, they've been married 50 plus years, and always served God, served the church, served people, helped them with anything. And then my parents, the same thing, like just have always served God, always loved people, always encouraged me to seek God and to pray and to live a life, live a holy life for Him. So I'm super grateful for them. I don't know where I would be if I was raised in a different type of situation. So
Yeah.
super.
It's kind of cool. So you come from a legacy of real faithfulness, and we're not talking perfection, but families that really love Jesus, live it out. There's not hypocrisy between the church and that. And you've seen that, especially as you've gotten older, a great foundation legacy. And it looks like you guys, I mean, you're following those footsteps. Your kids are going to hopefully see that and enjoy it as they get older. And it sounds like it's been a real encouragement and blessing overall for you.
For sure it has. I'm super excited to be able to keep a strong marriage and keep a lifestyle that's always serving and loving other people and loving Jesus. And I hope my kids see that, and I hope someday they have marriages like my grandparents and my parents and us, and just want to serve God, really. Yeah, that's my ultimate goal for my kids.
Ephraim, now
Hey.
your story.
Yeah.
It's amazing how God brings people together. Christine and I are the same way, completely different backgrounds, but you definitely grew up, the influences were different, for you. And so share a little bit about just kind of where you have come from.
Yeah, so I'm the youngest of 7 other kids. So I had a lot of brothers and sisters. They were all way older than me, so they moved out like, I don't know, when I was a little kid. And my real dad took off when I was like a year old, but at that point he had been married to my mom for around 20 years. And he was also like a minister. He was like an evangelist guy and did some ministry stuff, but he wasn't so evangelistic with my family.
Yeah.
With my mom and brothers and sisters. So I mean, I didn't grow up with him. I don't really know him, but it was growing up. I saw the struggle of a family tainted by just a gross hypocrisy. The man of God, they did them the opposite of how God tells us to treat people, And so growing up, I always believed in God, but it was really difficult for me to have the type of relationship with Him that the Bible describes, because probably like my brothers and sisters, I thought that God was mean and maybe double-minded, and he wasn't gonna, keep His promises or always be good to me. So I don't know, I believed in Him and maybe walked with Him from a distance, but still, like, I had a lot of wild, crazy years. And then when I turned 16, I got in some trouble with some legal things, and me and my mom moved to Arkansas, and that's where I met Ashley. We met at church. She was dating like the first friend that I made in Arkansas, and I still
The California boy swooped in.
Yeah, but no, it was really cool. Her parents, the first time I tried to call her, told me I was not allowed to ever call her house again. And I'm pretty sure they threatened my life. So anyways, call her anymore. She started calling me and sneaking phone calls, and then it worked out to where we were gonna try to date. So she told her dad, and he said as long as I worked with him. I started working construction with him, and I think that's when, like, I met somebody who walked with God. He did ministry, but he was the same all the time. There wasn't any variance in his behavior or his attitude, or he was just real all the time and had a solid relationship with Jesus. And I think that meeting him and having to spend so much time with him is like the reason that today I walk with God the way that I do. Otherwise, I would have always just been kind of afraid of him and went to church on Easters, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing, looking back on all of our stories and just seeing how God works in front of us, beyond us, all those things. It makes you humble and grateful, and it's neat to see you guys, carry on that legacy of faithfulness and serving, and that's one of the things I'm really that I really look up to you with you guys and really respect is, I think it's very difficult to invest a lot, sometimes in yourself spiritually, invest in others, invest serving at church when you have small kids, especially. I think sometimes people use that as kind of a get out of jail card. I'm tired, I'm busy, and things like that. And it's a legitimate tiring time of life, though every stage, as you said, there's different things that tire you out. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious as far as how you guys have balanced that, because you serve, right now, every Sunday you guys are, as we're producing content with worship and things like that. Ephraim, you're doing devotions. When we were in a building, doing sound, Ephraim, you taught in youth ministry, you filled in on the worship team. Ashley running the worship ministry, organizing it, singing. When you begin to total it up, it almost gets like, oh my gosh, I almost don't want to think about it because it stresses me out, but you guys do it really well. How do you guys do that? It's just something that I'm just kind of curious about.
I think the biggest thing, and maybe this is some of my upbringing, because I was like raised in the church and was there a lot. Our kids are excited to go to church. Church isn't a drag for them, even if they're sitting and waiting on us or helping or whatever it is. They just feel really a part of it. They feel like they are the church. So I don't know exactly how we did that.
It's a
Other
mystery.
than maybe being good models of that to
Yeah.
them, showing that there's value and it's important to go to church, to be a part of community, and to serve people. They all have, in their own ways, little servants' hearts, and I think the biggest factor in that is that, especially Ephraim, we show them that. I think we show them the importance of God in church, and we show them the importance of serving others, just by modeling it, maybe, and then just including them in everything, so they feel a part of it. Do you have anything?
Yeah, for me, I really prioritize like serving at church. I'm convinced that our relationship with Jesus is it can be as big as our relationship with other people or as small as our relationship with other people,
Yeah.
So I just really try to prioritize serving other people at church. It's just really, really important for me. And so in as much as like my job is a priority for me, serving people at church is important for me, and a lot of that is because, man, the stuff that I've learned from her dad, and
Yeah.
the stuff, the ways that I've been served at other churches and at our church and stuff, it would be absolutely unfair of me to not give that back, So I know how to do a couple things, and those are the things that I offer to do at church.
That's a great perspective as far as we come from a legacy and our kids are blessed by it. That making church where they see it's a priority. But I love that perspective too. And I feel the same way when I started serving a lot. Is there's people that served me when I was going to church and first became a Christian. And some of us is the gratitude now of we invest in knowing that it's going to pay dividends. And those people that made church cool for me when I first became a Christian, and I didn't even realize they were. I didn't realize there was people setting up. I was just excited to be there for Jesus and get to grow. But those people invested in my life too, by the way that they served, and I really enjoyed the church that I grew up in, my faith, those areas. So I think that's a great perspective, and I think it's what keeps our church healthy, and you guys are a key part of that. I know there's a ton of things to talk about. You guys, just your journeys with God, you've been going with God for a while. I'm just kind of curious this last year, as far as, both of you have had very stressful periods, that you had to kind of go through a lot of things. Looking back now, as far as how have you seen God kind of grow fruit out of that? Where do you guys find yourselves now where you're just really enjoying, because you've been following God for a while, and I almost find we can get stale. Like the older we get, I find a lot of people, their best years with Jesus are back like, oh yeah, when I was 21, in college, I was on fire for God. And I'm like, no, we should be on fire for God. Our story should continue. What do you see God doing either in you or teaching you, or just something that you're kind of like, from what you've been through the last year, of how you guys are still kind of just enjoying Jesus or growing in your own faith?
Yeah, I think what I've kind of taken out of this last year, what I've learned the most about is just, life has peaks and valleys. We talk about it all the time, the ebbs and the flows. But I feel like I've, for years, had a really poor response to the ebbs or the valleys, like normally when life is hard, or, you start feeling down, or you're stressed or anxious, whatever, normally, like, I just kind of isolate. I isolate myself from God and from other people. And so this last year, I've really been stretched, and almost, I feel like God has just forced me that the days that I don't want to pray or do anything or spend time with people, He just kind of tells me that I have to. And I've just had to muscle through like bad days of just forcing myself to pray for a while, or forcing myself to be nice to people. And I feel like God has blessed me in the days where it's difficult to do that. I've just tried to train myself to do it anyways. Just every day, pray like things are good, and spend time with God like things are good, and treat people like things are good. And then normally a day or two later, things are good again, Yeah. And so I feel like God is just teaching me how to keep a momentum in prayer, and how I interact with other people, even through the slower or the bad times or good times or whatever, if that makes sense.
I think that's a great point too, because I think for a lot of us, when those ebbs and flows go, we have to really learn, and it can take years to really learn how to. We're in our society, everything's so emotional, even just like, how you doing with God? Oh, I feel so close. Even if you're not, like, I've talked to people, I'm like, hey, how you doing when you're walking with God? They're like, I'm doing great. And then they tell me they're like, just doing crazy high-handed sin stuff, like not even little things. Like, you might feel close, but you're not walking with them at all. But learning to see the blessing of discipline, the blessing of, I'm going to be obedient no matter how I feel. It's neat to hear that, because that's something our society, especially, we're not trained in that. Most of us don't grow up that way. And so, but there's real benefits and blessings in just, I'm going to obey, or I'm going to be disciplined and thank God, even though I don't feel like thanking Him. So that's pretty cool. Ashley, anything, for you, that you just feel like God's been laying on your heart, or you've been kind of seeing lately Him work?
I think where I've seen God grow the most in my life right now, it's just been, especially like through the fall and to now, has been by reading my word, or the word, not just mine.
You have your own Bible, your own word.
She writes her own verses every morning.
She's super.
No, reading the word, and like, it sounds so cliche, but at the same time, I started doing studies. I started with studying the book of Daniel, and that's kind of where it all just spearheaded. And that's when God was doing a lot of things in my life, speaking to me and showing me things about myself. I was like, oh wow, okay. And so I think just reading the word, figuring out who God was and all the things that He is doing, just learning more about Him has helped so much, because I feel closer to Him. And I feel like I know him better. That, and then just faith. I'm a faithful person. Like you can count on me, and I'm loyal, and all these things. But I realized God was telling me that I had been lacking faith. Like, you can be faithful without having faith. And so, I'm faithful, like, but I had just lacked so much faith in God. I was putting more faith in myself because I was faithful, because I was doing the work, you know? And I forgot the bigger picture is faith in him, to trust him to do whatever he's going to do in me and others. So just like kind of letting go. I tend to be a kind of type A person, kind of high strung and kind of rigid when it comes to certain things. And I feel like in a lot of ways, God's just delivered me of some of that rigidness, or he's made me, I feel like he's taken a lot of my anxiety away, and just let me find like a truer peace. And I think it's just because of him. Like, I feel like he's like, at the end of the day, the things I'm worrying about don't matter. At the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is God. And like, yes, I know family matters, and things matter, but in my mind, in the war in my mind, at the end of the day, God is king, and he's just in control of everything. And I don't know, it's been really freeing. That's the only thing.
It's really cool to hear your story, because especially growing up in the church, it can almost, you've heard the stories, you've read the books, blah, 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 blah. And I think it's cool to hear that even after all these years, like, nope, there's still more to learn. There's still fresh things. And I think the other thing that's cool is some of us get used to living with a certain amount of anxiety or worry, or we say, well, that's my personality. And we try to over control life, and God's wanting to change that. And we're like, no, I've grown up with you. I'm pretty good. I'll take it over from here. And it's neat to where, whatever the reasons are, whether it's personality, chemical, how I grew up, emotional, what you're saying is, no, there's still things God's working in my life, and it's freeing me up. And it's neat to see that. It's neat to see that in both of you guys, and it's inspiring. So appreciate you guys. Really appreciate your time, getting to know you. And we enjoy just, again, how you guys invest in our church. The worship is one of our strengths. So many people are just blessed. I love it when my kids are singing songs during the week that they've heard us sing on the weekends. Ephraim, you do a variety of things, and then your Rise and Shine devotions, the insight God's given you, the passion to explain the word, it's just super cool. So thank you guys, and appreciate it.
Conversations. I'm having conversations. I'm having conversations.